sing for you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. May your dreams come true. Together as one, through thick and thin. With love in our hearts, the season begins. Generation Next, we sing for you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. May your dreams come true. Together as one, through thick and thin. With love in our hearts, the season begins.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome to the 9th episode of the GN Sports Show. My name is Jonathan Thorogood, Administrative Assistant at GN Sports Global. Along with me is Mr. Jason Cordis, President of the GNFC Parents Association, the CGPGA, and we are your hosts of the GN Sports Show. We have a packed lineup for you guys this evening with 3 GNFC under-11 players, along with the Vice President of the Antigua and Barbuda Cycling Federation, with one of his young cyclists. Also, we have the technical director from Bookhouse College and also a medical doctor from AUA. So stay tuned, we'll take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back. Our vision is to become the premier platform for showcasing and empowering young student athletes, providing them with the tools and exposure to excel both in sports and life, while shaping the next generation of confident, media-savvy leaders. The GN Sports Show is dedicated to highlighting the talent and stories of young student athletes across all sports disciplines. We aim to equip them with vital media exposure and public speaking skills, helping them grow into confident individuals both on and off the field. Through engaging interviews, mentorship, and real-world media experiences, we strive to foster personal and professional development that supports their athletic journeys.
And welcome back to the GN Sports Show, guys. This is our 9th episode, and it's been such a run so far. Today we have 3 of the finest of the under-11s of the GNFC Rebels. We have Lauren, we have Kyle, and we have Cam Karan. This is my son, I forget his name, imagine that. How you guys doing?
Good.
Oh, hold on, what's going on here?
Oh, Merry Christmas. Sorry to interrupt, but I've got an important message for everyone. So, adults and kids, please remember, the best gifts for this season is kindness, love, and a little bit of holiday cheer. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas.
Santa Claus sneak up on me, man. And I still don't have no present, so I don't know what, you know what I mean? Thank you for Santa Claus. So guys, welcome. So what we want to do is we want to find out a lot of stuff about you guys, all right? About you guys, what you like, why you started football, what make you like football. You understand what I'm saying? So Lauren, let's start with you. What made you choose to play football as a sport?
Well, my brother started playing football and I was really interested with him. So I tried to follow in his footsteps. So I just want to be just like him.
Good job, yeah.
And Kyle, what about you? Who got you into playing football?
My grandpa got me into playing football.
Your grandpa?
Your grandpa? What about you, Karan? Who got you into playing football?
My dad got me into playing.
Your dad. So what school do you go to, Lauren?
I go to St. Anthony Secondary School.
Oh, in secondary school, Lauren. And what about you, Kyle?
I go to Sunnyside Tutorial School.
Sunnyside Primary.
What about you, big boy?
Post Millennial Academy.
Post Millennial.
Post-Millennial
But what grade are you in?
Grade 6.
I'm in grade 4.
In first form.
First form. And of course, we'll start with Karan. Who's your favorite teacher at school?
Miss Joseph and Miss Lewis.
Okay. And what subjects do they teach?
All core subjects.
All core subjects. Okay.
Well, you had to make sure Miss Joseph and Miss Lewis grades had to get higher, you know. He mentioned y'all. All the teachers watching this, when these kids mention your name, y'all have to watch the GN Sports Show and y'all have to make sure and give them a little bump in the grades.
Of course.
What about you, Kyle?
My favorite teacher is Miss Roberts and Miss Payne.
Miss Roberts and Miss Payne, what do they teach?
They teach all subjects.
Oh,
the subjects are-
One of them is your home teacher, like your homeroom teacher?
No.
No? Oh. What would you learn?
My favorite teachers are Miss Bontiff and Mr. Nathan.
Wanted and Mr. Nathan, okay. And what subjects do they teach?
Mr. Nathan teaches IT, which I'm failing, so I need to practice him.
Lauren is very smart.
And Miss Bontiff teaches math.
Responsive teachers.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Nathan. IT. So do you guys play football for Generation Next under 11s? You guys, you know, you all already told us you all love playing football. What's your favorite team? Whether it's local in Antigua or it's international. What's your favorite team?
GNFC.
GNFC?
I like that answer. Kyle?
Kyle
My-
thinking, boy. Kyle thinking.
My favorite team is Argentina.
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 Ay, ay, ay. Karan,
Liverpool.
you couldn't wait to see Liverpool, boy. You couldn't wait to see Liverpool. Who's your favorite player, Kyle?
My favorite player is Messi.
That is a very messy statement you make there. Lauren.
Me.
Oh, well, look at that. She had to start next game, John.
Exactly.
Karan.
Virgil van
Oh,
Dijk.
I was just take your time. Virgil van Dijk.
Virgil van Dijk.
Virgil van Dijk, centre back. Okay.
Now, as this boy's father, he sings a song every day of Darwin Núñez, and for me to hear, this is to show you how you cannot dictate what somebody. You think you know people, and then you don't know
don't know,
people.
exactly.
I could have bet all my things that he was going to say Darwin Núñez, and he come with Virgil van Dijk.
As well, you didn't let me finish.
So finish it. So Virgil van Dijk and Darwin Núñez are your favorite players.
Yes.
Okay, understood.
So, Kyle, what do you want to do when you grow up, right? What do you want to do? What do you want to become?
I want to become a football player.
You're a professional football player. And if that doesn't work out, what is your plan B? What's your other option?
My plan B is American football.
American football. So you're saying
Well, a little birdie told me that Kyle is beyond the greens, you know.
playing golf.
Somebody told me Kyle is playing golf, so I don't. He didn't mention he want to be a big golfer. What about you, Lauren?
I want to be an astronaut.
An astronaut. Nice.
There's a lot of space for that.
Yeah, of course.
Karan, what do you want to be?
Football player.
A football player?
Football player. And if that doesn't work out, do you have a plan B?
American football player.
American football as well. So
Well,
we'll see,
these are
we'll
good
see him
sports.
and Kyle on the field
Yeah,
together.
you and Kyle will be as long as you know the money coming to take care of all your parents when they get older and stuff like that. I'm all for that.
Yes, of course.
But it's a pleasure having you guys. It's a pleasure having you guys, and you know you guys have focused. You're ambitious, and I need you guys to stay like that, right? You all under 11s. You all have to go up now to under 13s and 14s and stuff like that. So keep with the passion that you have for the sport and for school. Because John will tell you every time we speak to colleges in abroad in the UK, who you guys may want to go to play professional, they always say, if you don't have the education base, you're not going to be picked to come and play with them, right? Plus, you also want to be able to have the education just in case something happened to you in the field and you can't play football. You can still stay in football as a physio, as a reporter, you know, all these different things. So stay in school and stay on the field. All right. So thank you guys for being here, and we'll keep in touch. All right. GN Sports Show. We'll be back real soon. So we're back again here on the GN Sports Show, and as said before, we have two of Antigua's best in cycling. We have Sir Derek Sutherland. He's the vice president of the Antigua and Barbuda Cycling Federation, and we have one of the greats, Tajay Brown. Welcome, guys, to the GN Sports Show.
Welcome.
Yeah, great for having us here. We are so excited to be here and share some cycling knowledge.
Hey, that's what we're here to get out to you guys, man. Cycling knowledge, right?
Exactly, yes. So let's start off with Tajay Brown.
Yeah.
Your journey in cycling began at the age of 12 with Dudley Cycling Academy. What initially inspired you to pursue cycling, and how has the academy shaped your career?
Well, cycling, I feel, has been in my blood for a very long time. Since I was 5 years old, I've been riding around the village for like hours on a time. And it was only because of my mom that she was like, why not put that on the bike?
Yeah.
And let me shout out my godmother, Vincia. She's the one that got me into Wadali Cycling Academy. Right. And she was the reason why I actually ride right now. So I will thank her very much. And Wadali Cycling Academy is more than a club. I feel like it's more of a family collective that guides me forward so I can achieve more. And so that I'm not in this journey alone, and I have a better chance of making it and succeeding in what I want.
That's good, man. That's good. Now, you have represented Antigua and Barbuda in the Junior Caribbean Cycling Championships, right?
Yeah.
What was your most memorable moment or lessons that you had for competing in this level?
Well, a lesson that I've taken from my countless attempts at the Caribbean Champs is it's not always the strongest man that's going to win. Sometimes it takes luck. Sometimes it needs to be daring to actually win a race. And for what I take from it is that winning is fun a lot, but it's not all the time you're going to win. So sometimes you have to take the losses when you get them and push forward when you get the chance.
Yeah, well, the journey is always as sometimes more important than the actual victory, right? Because there's a lot of learning that goes on in the journey. And sometimes we always think that a loss is a loss, but a loss is not a loss. A loss is a chance to learn.
Yeah, of course.
Something about yourself, something about the course, and all these different things, you know what I mean? So I guess, I've taken this stance where you never lose in life.
No, it can't lose.
And if that's the perspective that you have, that you never lose, you just gain a learning experience, then it gives you the strength now to go ahead, try again. As they say, you only lose if you don't ever try.
Exactly.
Right? So it's a good thing, man.
Yeah, and to add to that as well, and I mean, we talk about this quite a bit because the race he's talking about was the last race that he did in St. Martin. And I used to tease him prior to the race, where I always said to him, I want you to get beat. because in Antigua, there wasn't anybody that could put him under pressure.
Right.
And I would rather him at 17 years of age know what losing is like.
I got you.
Then he gets to 20 and then he falls out the sport. Because I know that this young man's going to bounce back like a rock star and show everybody, not just in Antigua, but around the world, what he can do as a cyclist.
Yes.
Watch this space. Remember where you hear it first.
Yeah. That's a very good thing, a very good way to look at it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you can't be too great at a young age because then you may plateau further. You know what I mean?
Sometimes I've learned the hard way sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tell him it's good for him, man. It's good. No worry. It's good.
So breaking records and obviously competing above your age category must have come with significant challenges. How do you stay motivated and maintain such high levels of performances under pressure?
Well, sometimes I do get discouraged sometimes because it's not, my sport is not like you can go and just ride an hour and you get everything you learn.
Right.
A week I spend like 13 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours on the bike just going at it. So it is very hard to keep motivated, but I know in my heart I have a lot of accomplishment and goals I need to achieve. So I find the motivation is not hard to find. I see that the winning is a very great motivator, and it's better to hear champion of Antigua and Barbuda rather than junior champion of Antigua and Barbuda.
Correct, yeah.
So I just find that a big motivator for me.
Yeah, well, it shows because, your achievements in 2024, including your record-breaking performances, have been extraordinary, you know what I mean, this year. How do you balance the demands of training, competition, and your personal life? Because, you're 17.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've gotten a lot of, how I say, commitments to the bike. And those commitments sometimes outweigh the goals that I have for like my personal life. For example, if one of my friends say, let's go out to like a fete, I have to say no because I have riding early morning tomorrow. And sometimes some things have to get sacrificed for me to, push forward. And that's what I've learned from an early age, and I'm happy for that. So sometimes I just have to know when it's too much and when it's too little, because sometimes you're going to work yourself too much But there's people in your corner that can be like, okay, you're doing a little bit too much, so to cool down.
Well, the first thing you should say when they say come go off it is that, no, I'm 17.
Exactly.
It is that. It's not that, no, I have something else to do. It's like, hey, I'm 17, you know, you're talking about going fat for. You know what I mean? But what you said is very important. And like, as I always say, my philosophy as well is, if you have a big enough why, the how gonna come very easy.
Very true.
You know what I
very
mean?
true.
But keep doing what you're doing, man.
And one of the things I always say to the cyclists as well is put your goals in concrete and your plans in sand, because from time to time things can change
Yeah,
and
of
shift. You know, but as long as you got that focus for where you want to go and what you want to achieve, you're going to get it.
But I like that. Put your goals in concrete
And your plans in sand.
and your plans in sand.
I like
For
that.
being in Antigua, sand and sea, it's a good thing. Your goals in concrete, your plans in sand.
Yes.
Copyright. Copyright that. No, I have one I so always say. I came up with this years ago and I said, like a tire, because we're doing cycling, right? A tire has air. And if the tire is flat, you can't go. So I always say you need PSI, because you use PSI
Correct.
to measure air.
Yes.
And for me, PSI is planning, structure, implementation. So you make your planning, you structure it, and then you implement it. You know what I mean? So PSI.
Yeah, my brother.
So Taji, you've trained internationally, such as attending the ICU sanctioned youth camp in Trinidad. What insights or techniques have you gained from these experiences, and how did they influence your approach to racing?
Well, the training camp in Trinidad was very informational. But I wouldn't say it was only the information that they taught, but it was the people around me that actually taught me a little bit more than the camp, because it was people from all over the Caribbean, Belize, some from Jamaica, and around the Trinidad island actually. So I have to say they taught me a lot. And also, I actually learned a lot from the coaches and the people there. For example, the coaches taught me how to train, how to run my nutrition before a race, how to fuel during a race. And since my favorite discipline is the time trial, they taught me how to maximize my starting on that discipline so I can be even faster. I have to say something that I learned from my peers was that you're going to hit challenges, but it's how you bounce back from them that actually counts. And
Important.
and now
Very
that's the
important.
philosophy I go from starting my new year.
Well, since, you know, as someone who is very ambitious in becoming a professional cyclist, right? What are your long-term goals? And, you know, what do you see, how do you see yourself contributing to the growth of cycling in Antigua and Barbuda?
Well, the main goal, first goal, I want to reach Europe and ride for a World Tour team.
Hey.
Once I have that, I mean, everything else can be worked on, can be sharpened. All I just need to do is just work hard and focus on what I have to do, and everything will come after.
So how do you see yourself helping for the growth of Antigua now in cycling? Because all these younger kids now, younger than you, that coming up, who want to become a cyclist, they want to do, because you mightn't see it now, but you are an inspiration to younger people
cyclists, yeah.
who haven't jumped on that bike as yet. You know what I mean? Believe it or not. And you have to take that and use that as something to go forward. So what do you want to do to help, you know, promote and help the growth of cycling in Antigua?
Well, hopefully, while I'm passing through the stages, I gain a following, and so I can use that following to actually help the silent community. As you know, we have live streams,
Right.
and you know, I can just pop in once in a while, pop into the live stream once in a while, so that everybody can see what's going on in Antigua cycling. And also, since when I reach my goals and dreams and aspirations, it's not hard for me to source tools and equipment from overseas and bring them down here.
Right.
So like things like tube, tires, derailleurs, cranks, things like that, they won't be a problem. So it's not only about me, it's for the generation after me, so that I can support them and they can look at me as inspiration.
Good job, man. Good job.
Nice.
And just to add to that as well, because we had another cyclist that kind of like went quite far, and not only was he helping cyclists in Antigua, but he was also helping cyclists in the wider Caribbean by allowing them to come and join the club that he was racing for in New York. So not only were they getting the experience of riding for an Antiguan or Anguillan team,
Right.
they were also getting to ride against the big boys in the States to help to propel them further in their career. And that's what I also see Tajay doing, is inviting new, younger, brighter talent in Antigua to join him when he hits that world
Yeah, it's
stage.
inspiring, man. It's very inspiring. Well, thanks a lot, Tajay.
Of course.
Let me throw some questions over to the big boss.
Sir himself.
Let me throw something over there, man.
Mr. Sutherland, the Vice President of the Antigua and Barbuda Cycling Federation. What initially sparked your interest in cycling, and how did you transition from recreational riding in 2015 to competitive racing in 2016?
Right, okay, so I used to travel around the Caribbean doing workshops.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I always did when I was doing my workshops, I wanted to see what the races were like throughout the Caribbean. You know, so I did Anguilla, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, to name but a few. And while I was there watching the races, it really sparked my interest to get back on a bike. And the initial reason for me getting on the bike was to lose weight. And Lindsay Duffy was part of the Antigua and Barbuda Cycling Federation, or association that it was at the time. And she said, we've got a short race coming up. Would you like to pop in and have a go? And I love a challenge. And I went into that race. I came second to last. And for me at that time, it was the greatest experience that I'd had in a while. So I flew to New York, bought myself a race bike, came back this following year and became a competitive cyclist.
Wow.
Or cyclist, I should say,
Very inspiring.
You know, so as someone who had held multiple roles within the Antigua and Barbuda Cycling Federation, right? What have been the most rewarding challenges and aspects of your leadership journey?
The most rewarding, I would say, was finding some of the riders that we had. So Connor Dellenbank, he was a UK guy with Antiguan parentage that wanted to ride for the country. And having met him, helped him to get his passport, took him to a couple of races, watching him develop as a cyclist, that was great. But I think having Emmanuel Guerrero go to Italy and ride for 3 months was another pinnacle. But I think the highest pinnacle for me, I don't know if anybody knows Robert Marsh. Robert Marsh is one of the greatest cyclists that we have in Antigua, in my opinion, of all time. For me, Robert Marsh is my hero.
Okay.
You know, coming from the UK, the closest I could get to somebody like Robert Marsh would be behind a wall. and here I am in Antigua, sharing a bedroom in St. Martin with Robert
Marsh,
listening to him telling me stories of his life and what got him into the sport. Those things you can't buy. You know, so those have been some of my highlights.
So how has your experience as junior team manager influenced your approach to supporting and mentoring young riders?
Right, okay. So when I was the team manager, this wasn't in this young man's era, it was a few years back. And one of the reasons why I took on the responsibility was we had a coach called Tony Gibbs from the UK that needed somebody to actually make sure that the guys were doing the training. And Mervyn Gore at the time was the president of the federation, so he asked if I could support by doing that job and working closely with him. With Tony, we got Ira on board. We went away to our first race, and I ain't gonna lie, I don't know if you understand this word, we fluffed it.
Yes.
Yeah, we fluffed it badly. Yeah?
Yeah.
So, but one of the things with how my brain works is I don't mind fluffing it. All I need to do, I need to understand where did we go wrong
Right.
and what can we do to get it right the
get it
next
right,
time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So when we ended up going to Barbados the following year, we came back with 2 medals.
Wow. Amazing.
You know, and that was because of working with the team, driving the team. I'm a bit of a no-nonsense coach. I know what I want. I know what the guys can do. And all I want you to do is just deliver on the deliverables.
Yes.
And by them doing that, that's what got us the results that we required.
Okay. So in your role as vice president,
Yeah.
what are your primary goals for cycling in Antigua, Barbuda?
My primary goals as an individual is youth development. So making sure that the likes of Tajay gets exactly what they need to be able to deliver, or should I say, for us to be able to give him what he wants so that he can do what he needs to do. That for me is my primary goal. My other goal is to talent spot for my elite cyclists.
Yes.
So if I can see people that not necessarily live in Antigua, but like Connor have Antiguan parentage, and I can bring them on board to help to promote cycling for Antigua, then for me, those are the goals that I have to make sure that we always stay relevant with the right team around us to make that happen.
Because I know I was supposed to ask you as well, how do you plan to achieve that? You know what I mean? Because we all have goals, but sometimes, you know, we plan and then life has a way of...
Of getting in the way.
Yep.
And I'll tell you a funny story with that. Right now, we were contacted by a guy, and Sinclair Williams is the president right now of the federation. And because of the work that I did with Connor, he was like, Derek, these guys are now your responsibility. So because I now am looking after them, and Connor was the first person I did it for, first thing I do, I make sure that I get you your passport. Well, no, I take it one step back. We have a program called Strava that tells me how you're riding. So it's got all of the cyclist stats
Yes.
on this piece of software. So the first thing I do, I check your stats. If your stats are better than the riders that we have in Antigua, then you're somebody that I will consider. If your
Okay.
stats aren't, then you're not.
Right.
Then I make sure that we get you your passport, because the last thing I want to do is bring somebody here that doesn't have a passport. Yeah, and then once we got all of that sorted out, then you get invited to come and race at your expense, and everybody knows
Okay.
that it's at their expense.
Wow.
Yeah. You got to remember, it's up to them to prove to us that
They want this.
yeah, that's right.
Capable of doing it. Yeah.
Once I know that you're committed, because the easiest thing for somebody to say is, yeah, I want to ride for Antigua and I
Yeah.
can't ride a bike.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for these guys to do is to follow these steps that I've set out, and as long as you do that, they know that they'll have my 110 support, just like any cyclist in Antigua will get, to be able to deliver. Now, one of the things that I found personally, when I bring somebody in to ride for Antigua, the standard on the island increases. So whereas the guys are happy riding at 23, 24 miles an hour, I bring a man in that's riding at 27, all of a sudden,
Everybody has to go 27.
To get to that level.
that's right,
Yeah.
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 So it's a win-win. There's nobody that's
Yeah.
going to lose. It's a win-win.
And you know, for everyone has having to come and ride at their expense. I've realized, I don't know if everybody has realized before, cycling is not a cheap sport.
Not
The
by
cost
any-
of these bikes are sometimes $3,000 US, $6,000 US. That's
Let's
ridiculous.
start at 6,000.
It starts at 6,000 and go. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's really something you have to be passionate about and tell yourself, let me get into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the caveats that I have with everybody that's coming in, because a lot of the riders that want to come into this game are in their late 20s, early 30s. So one of the things that I tell them is that if you are coming in, your primary responsibility is to support our junior cyclists.
Of course.
Yeah,
course, yeah.
because you've got the racecraft and everything, because you've
Yeah.
been doing it for years. You're never going to make it to the world scene now because you're too old.
Yeah.
I know 25, you go, man, to all at 25, yeah, you're too old at 25. So their responsibility now is to help this young man and the rest of the juniors that we have to elevate themselves to get to that level.
Yeah, of course. Of course. So just before we finish up, I'd just like to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
What do you see as the biggest challenges facing the sport of cycling in Antigua and Barbuda, and how can they be addressed?
Okay. The biggest challenge that we have in cycling is funding. And that is the biggest challenge. And I ain't afraid to say it. How do we solve it? For me personally, I think it's very simple. We have to run the federation like a business. And by running it like a business, what will happen is that you'll have money that's in the pot.
Right.
One of the things that I speak very passionately about is if the goal is that we want to send these guys away, there is nothing wrong with us going to the NOC and the government to get the cash.
Right.
One of the things that we know to be true is that we can get the request, but just because we get the request doesn't mean that the cash is going to come.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is not me dissing anybody. This is not this. This is the facts.
Yeah.
Yeah? But if you have a float, then you can take the money out your float to cover it until you get the check.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in the past, we would have had situations where we're at the airport waiting to get on a plane and they're waiting for the money to
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
So, but now we're in a situation where we've got the float, so now we're not paying an extra $300-400 for the ticket.
Yeah.
We can buy it at a reasonable price.
Right,
When the funds
gotcha.
come in, we put
just
it back
replenish
in,
back it,
and
yeah.
that's right.
Have
Yeah.
it planned
You
properly.
know.
Yeah.
And as I said, because we're operating like a business, that's one of the reasons why we're having a little bit more success.
Okay. Understand.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Thank
It
you
was
guys
our
for being
pleasure.
here.
Thank you for
It's a lot
having
of
us.
information. We look forward to seeing you all over the screens.
You will.
Tajay.
Of course,
You know what I
yes,
mean?
we will.
We got to see it. We have to see all these youths come up. And sports, I think, as a Caribbean island, all we have is talent,
Yes.
right? And we have to learn to make this talent into a skill and let this skill, as they say, pay the bill.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
Not all of us are going to be academic scholars, and
That's right.
a lot of us have a lot of potential and creativity and stuff like that. And as you rightfully say, we have to look at the sport as a business,
Yes.
because it's not going to work if we don't put some
Cannot.
money into it. There's a lot of advertising that is going to come back. There's a lot of promotions that's going to come back. So businesses, we need to do that. We need to start investing in our sport, in our youth, and in our country.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much for being here, and we look forward for future conversations.
Okay.
Right?
In fact, one more thing before you go. If you do want to watch our races are live on the Antigua and Barbuda Cycling Federation page on Facebook. So find us there, like, subscribe, and when the races come up, you will be the first to know. And by the way, I am the voice of cycling in Antigua right now. So get used to hearing this voice.
Yeah.
So thank you guys so much. So until we come back, GN Sports Show.
Welcome back, viewers, to the GN Sports Show. This is a special segment of the show where we will be interviewing former Premier League manager and now technical director at Brookhouse College, Mickey Adams. Welcome to the show, Mickey.
Hello, Jonathan. Nice to see you.
Thank you for taking the time out for being on the GN Sports Show with us. We know that it's quite late in the UK, so we won't keep you too long. Your football journey began at Sheffield United's youth team. How has your early experience shaped your views on nurturing young talent in the sport?
I think the major thing that I learned from an early age is that football is all about opinions, good or bad. My experience at Sheffield United, I joined at 12 and at 16 I was released. But I was released because there was a change of youth team manager about a month before I was going to be either taken on as a youth team player or released. And he hadn't seen that much of me, to be fair. So my philosophy always now is to give players a chance and don't make quick decisions or opinions based on that early stage. So I don't make rash decisions anymore on youngsters.
You've held managerial positions at multiple clubs, including leading teams to promotion. What have been the most significant leadership challenges you faced, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I guess the first thing is that you can only play 11 players at one in one particular game. So, during the course of a season, it's obviously a squad game, and it's really trying to keep the ones that are not playing on a regular basis up to speed and happy. Because it's a challenge. You know that you're going to need more than 11 players during the course of the season. So the challenge is to keep those players that are not involved on a week-to-week basis motivated and focused as best you can. And then I guess the other real problem that you always have in managing a football club is managing upwards, and that means the chairman and the owners will have different opinions occasionally to you in terms of team selection. You will get some owners and chairmen that question you on a game-to-game basis, and you've got to come up with the answers. But I guess you have to make sure that your strategies are in place. Fitness is key for me. So about fitness, it means running from A to B in a time thing without the ball, and sometimes that's very difficult to get players to do. Trying to play high tempo football, trying to be as organised as you possibly can, set piece wise, for and against. And my type of management skills demanded that there was no it was always black and white. There was no grey areas, so everybody knew their team. And if I got that, and I got a squad of players that bought into everything that I was trying to achieve, then hopefully at the end of the season, I was lucky. I had 4 promotions, so I had 4 groups of players that really bought into it, and we had a lot of success.
So obviously we were speaking about your success. You just said that you had 4 promotions over the years. From relegation battles to your managerial changes, your career has seen its share of highs and lows. How have these experiences influenced your perspective on football and management?
Well, Jonathan, I think what it teaches you really is that you've got to enjoy the good times. Cherish every promotion, cherish every win, because believe you me, it's really hard, to do that, and particularly when you put a promotion-winning team together and achieve success. It means that you are doing things the right way. It's hard sometimes not to listen to the negatives. Everybody seems to have their opinions about what you're doing, particularly when you lose a game of football, and what you have to try and do is stay as focused as you possibly can. Don't get distracted. And by doing that, I guess you surround yourself with good people. Because at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror every day, and particularly after every game, and say, I've given my team every little ingredient that I possibly can on the training ground to try and get a win on a Saturday or a Tuesday night whenever you're playing, and that's not easy sometimes. So that's important.
How did your extensive playing and managerial experience in professional football shape your approach as the technical director at Brookhouse Football Academy?
Well, it certainly helped me, that's for sure, because I brought all the high standards that I set my professional teams into an academy setting at Brookhouse College. I guess one of the most important things that I brought to the college was my extensive contact list. You know, hopefully that opens doors for a lot of our students at Brookhouse to play in trial games. Certainly it helps, you know, arranging friendlies, because hopefully, you know, 9 times out of 10 I can pick up a phone and arrange a friendly at short notice. So, you know, once again, we're showing Brookhouse students against academy sides, and you know, that's really, really important. Dealing with agents, you know, because we get a lot of agents that want to showcase their players whilst they're in England, and by doing that, they want to come to Brookhouse College because they've heard our program is probably the best in the country, and they know that if they are decent players, that, you know, once again, with my contacts, I can get them into football clubs. So I guess that's the main thing I brought to the college, my experience certainly dealing with football clubs.
Obviously, you know, we spoke about it a little bit, that Brookhouse focuses on nurturing the young talent. But what specific methodologies or programs have you implemented to enhance player development?
At Brookhouse, we've got a pyramid system, and basically what that pyramid system does, it enables all players and gives all players the opportunity to climb up the ladder to the elite under-19 team. And that under-19 elite team is a nationally renowned team that a lot of players have gone from and gone on to be professional footballers. So it doesn't really matter what age you're at, whether you're an under-16 or an under-17. If we feel, and I feel, that you are capable physically and mentally to handle the challenge of, you know, maybe playing 1 or 2 years upwards, then we help you climb that ladder, or down accordingly. You know, if we see that you're struggling physically or mentally to cope with the pressures of that under-19 elite team, then we'll drop you down again, you know, until you are ready. And also, one of the key things that I've implemented at the school is this open dialogue with students through a system called match meeting. And this is an open dialogue system that enables not only the players but also the parents to log on to see everything that's logged about your boy or your individual learning plan that we've implemented. So all training's logged, physical testing is logged, and performance in games is scored and logged also. So, you know, I think that's one of the key things that I've implemented since I've been at the school.
Perfect. So obviously we know you're the technical director at Brookhouse Academy, and obviously we know that it has to come with some big challenges. We just would like to know, how do you overcome these challenges as technical director?
Yeah, it does come with challenges, and I guess the one biggest challenge that I face, and maybe a lot of professional academy managers face, is parents and players having different opinions of their progression. You know, a lot of parents want their boy to jump from A to B as quickly as they can, to get into the professional ranks as quickly as they can, and sometimes I feel that it's not the pathway that they should be following at this moment in time. You know, I'm always honest with my assessments and their feedbacks of their boys, not only to the parents but also to the boys as well. I think that's really important. And if I feel that, you know, they're ready for a trial at a professional football club, then, you know, I will push them forward as best I can. But what we don't promise at the school is that because you're at the school, that you will be given a trial at a league club. that only comes with your progression, and if we feel that you're ready to do so. So I guess as you know, parents, you know, who don't really understand the system, because you know you have to educate them as best you can as well. But there's no giving at the school. You know, if you're ready, you're ready, and if you're not, then we have to hold you back until you are ready, because you know it's our name that's on the label. You know, we at Brookhouse College pride ourselves that if we pick the phone up to a professional football club and say we have a player that we think will interest you, then they know that we're sending the right caliber of player into that football club.
And as we know, Brookhouse combines education with the football training. How do you ensure that students excel both academically and athletically?
Well, I have to tell you that you know the one thing we have to tell parents, you know, when we first meet them, is that you know this is actually a school, you know, and it's not just a football academy. You know, a lot of the players will say they're at a football academy. Well, you know, they're wrong there, because it is a school, and we have to be mindful that you know we have to follow the protocol for the school and their educational pathways. You know, what we find is that occasionally players will skip doing the necessary things to keep their academic grades up to scratch. You know, they may be late with homework and assignments that they've been set, and what we say to them is that you know if that is not up to speed, then you know you will miss a day's training, or you might even miss an important game. You know, because we have a right and a responsibility to all the parents out there who are spending good, honest earned money, that you know not only are we committed to their football pathways, but we're also committed to their educational pathways as well, because it's important. Not everybody will become a professional footballer, and you know we need to ensure that the educational pathways are followed as well.
Of course. I know we spoke about it a little bit earlier about Brookhouse preparing players for a career in professional football. Can you share any recent success stories that you have?
Well, you know, last year, for instance, I think we had 15 professionals from a leaving group of something like 60. So that's a fantastic percentage that have gone on. Now, not all these players have gone on to clubs in England. My job and my responsibility is to find them other pathways, whether that be in Lithuania, Belgium, Bulgaria, or even Finland, who I've visited recently. But I guess one of the most recent success stories is Denisha Hill. Now, Denisha was a pupil at our school for 4 years. He's a Bermudan boy. And he had trials at Accrington Stanley, who incidentally turned him down. You know, they said he wasn't good enough. But eventually, through his hard work and his endeavours on the training ground and in games, he actually signed for Leicester City. And he's now into his 3rd year as a professional at Leicester City. So I think that's a fantastic story, you know, because at the beginning of this interview, I said to you that it's all about opinions, and Accrington Stanley's opinion said no. Leicester City said yes 3 years later.
Exactly. Well, just before we finish this segment, I would like to just say something about Mr. Adams to our viewers. I think Mr. Mickey Adams was one of the first players in the Premier League to receive a red card. Is that true, Mickey?
What a claim to fame, Jonathan. You know, people don't talk about all my goals and all my 450 league appearances for various clubs in the Premier League. But the one thing they do talk about is I was the first player to be red carded at Queen's Park Rangers for Southampton in the very first Premier League season.
Well, you know, Mr. Mickey Adams, you know, we really appreciate you taking the time out for being on the GN Sports Show with us. We know that it's quite late in the UK, and again, we really appreciate you taking the time out to be here with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me onto the show, and I'd like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Same to you, Mickey. Thanks again. We would just like to take a quick commercial break to thank the sponsors of the Gomez Netherlands Insurance Youth Football League. When we return, we will be speaking with the medical doctor at AUA, Dr. Rick Millis. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. We would like to thank the sponsors of Generation Next, Fruta, Antigua Masonry Products, Kenneth A. Gomez Insurance Agency, Island Photo, and Francis Trading Agency. Welcome back to the GN Sports Show. As we promised before we went on the commercial break, we are back with Dr. Rick Millis, the medical doctor at AUA, otherwise known as Dr. Love. Welcome to the show, Dr. Millis.
Thank you.
Welcome, Doc.
Yeah, thank you. They call me Dr. Love because I spread the love.
Hey.
In fact, in terms of sports, I'm not a fighter. I'm a lover.
Yes.
The only time I ever get into a fight is when there's a referee around to stop it. On the basketball court. The only time I fight is when there's a referee.
When you're able to be stopped.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'll just get straight into it. Why do you think football is one of the most popular sports for kids worldwide?
Well, let's think about it. Actually, I thought about it first when I went to Ethiopia. I started the first physician's assistant training program in Ethiopia back in 1996. It was the first one in Africa at that time. And I would go down the street. And in Ethiopia is like one of the poorest countries in the world, maybe the poorest country in the world. And kids were on the street kicking balls, kicking soccer balls, no goals. They were just kicking the soccer ball. They were playing. Sometimes they didn't even have a ball. They would make a ball out of rags. Wow. They had nothing. So I said, okay, why is this so popular? Number one, it doesn't take any money, right? You can actually improvise and make your own. I saw they were making their own balls. Yeah. And of course, many of them didn't even have shoes. They were just barefoot kicking, right? Secondly, you can make up your rules as you go. And the rules are so simple. Think about it. The rules are very simple. Yeah. They're not complicated rules like tennis and basketball and American football. You see? So it doesn't require any investment. You can do it anywhere. You can do it by yourself. You can practice. Yes. You can do it with a partner. You can do it with a whole bunch of kids and communicate. And there's so much going on in your brain that helps you build confidence about your skills. Think about some of these kids that are just practicing on their own. They're developing a style, a soccer style. Soccer. See, I did it again. I'm sorry, this is an American influence.
Yes, of course,
Okay, the football style. What they're doing is they're training their brain how to evade other players, how to get around other players, and they're creating a style of their own. Yep. Imagine the confidence, the self-confidence that comes, the self-identity that comes with, I can do this and you can't do this. I have a new way of getting around you.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And that doesn't cost any money. You don't need a big field to do that. You can do that anywhere.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons.
So what do you think, right, would be like the key developmental benefits of football that some parents might overlook?
Well, first of all, let's say, continuing with the other thought, and then I'll get into this. The other thought of why it's great for kids to play your football, my soccer, is that if you think about kids' development, right? They're developing their legs, their lower body first. Yeah. So when we start crawling, when we start getting up and start walking, we're not using our arms.
Yeah, using our legs.
Our arms are weak. Okay, so for children, upper body is weak. Even as we get adults, our upper body is much weaker than our lower body muscles. Yes. Right? Our shoulder girdle is weak. It's not a well-designed system up here. That's why we get so many shoulder injuries from tennis and basketball and throwing, right?
Yes.
But down here, our hips, our pelvic girdle is much stronger, right? Our center of gravity, we use it for fighting gravity, for getting up and walking, and all of that kind of stuff. So soccer or football lends itself very well to the developmental stages of children, right? Building on their strength.
Yeah.
The strength is that lower body strength that they have,
Yes.
that control they have. They learn the body control from the bottom,
Yeah.
right? And because of that, they're not prone to getting a lot of injuries. You see?
Gotcha.
Yes.
So there's not a lot of injuries. So they're working out their coordination, right, from the lower body, and they're not sustaining a lot of injuries like they would if they would be using the upper body
only,
strength
yeah.
and their upper arms.
Yeah.
And then when it supports the core of your body, right?
Yes, exactly, exactly. So again, the whole idea of your football is that it lends itself nice to the developmental stages of children, right? And it doesn't strain them too much. On the other hand, you know, we know anybody can get injured.
Yeah.
Of course.
And so parents have to be aware of the injuries that can happen. And now your second question was, what was that? You were asking?
How parents might overlook those actual benefits.
Yeah, so it's very easy to say, oh, my child doesn't want to play. Well, why doesn't a child want to play soccer or football? They don't want to play soccer or football because they didn't learn the skills early enough.
Yeah.
Which is a major one, yeah.
Yeah, they get left out in a group. They don't feel comfortable in a social group,
Yeah.
right? They just got accustomed to sitting around the house and playing video games all day, right? Sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah.
So parents are often letting the kids do that and overlooking these benefits.
Yeah.
What are the benefits? Socialization is obviously one.
Of course.
What about communication? Not just verbal communication, but they also learn nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
You know, when you're playing a team sport and you go like this to your
Yeah, your
partner,
body language is important.
he knows whether you're open or you're not to pass the ball to you.
Yes.
Just from that nonverbal communication, as well as verbal communication.
Yeah.
Then there's leadership skills. You know, somebody's got to take the lead. Somebody's got to say, hey, you're doing the wrong thing. I want you over here or over here, you know? And that leadership skill thing is important.
So it's a very good character building, sport.
Yes.
Plus, very important, cognitive brain development. So here's what's usually overlooked. We think that there's a part of our brain called the cerebellum. Not we think, we know there's a part of the brain called the cerebellum. And many people think that when we train our cerebellum, that's where we get our muscle memory. And that's true. You heard of muscle memory.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you a story about my muscle memory. So I'm almost 80 now. And what do you mean, uh-huh?
No, I said, wow.
You're
It's like,
supposed to
no,
say-
I was like, I'm
No,
shocked.
Say, are you kidding
I
me?
am
You
shocked.
You look young for your
What the
age.
heck? You say, how can you be almost 80?
I am shocked that you're
Okay,
saying 80.
Okay, good. Right thing. Right? But when my kids were when I was in my 40s, my kids were starting to play soccer. Now my kids are in their 40s, but when I was in my 40s, I had young kids. And in the United States, when I was growing up in the 1950s, I was playing baseball, American football,
Right.
and basketball. Nobody was playing soccer
Yeah.
or even football.
Yeah, I know.
Right? That it was left out. Now it's different.
Yeah.
So my kids were starting to play soccer or your football. And they would say, Dad, come on, we need to practice. Because they were on teams.
Right.
And I would go out and practice with them. And every time I would try to kick a ball with them, I would hyperextend my knee. Now, why would I? And no matter how much I tried not to, because I'm not stupid.
Yeah.
I look stupid, but I'm not.
No.
And what I would do is I would be thinking, okay, don't hyperextend your knee, don't do this, but you don't have control.
Yeah.
And so when you try to kick, every time I tried to overkick the ball, all right? Or when I tried to underkick it, I couldn't even pass it properly.
Wow.
So I then end up overkicking all the time because I didn't train my brain for that muscle memory. My leg muscles did not have that muscle memory as where to start and stop. When kick. And how to create the gradation you need to kick it hard or kick it soft or kick it one way or the other. So I had to think so hard about everything. So I would injure myself almost every time. So I gave up on it. I never after that, after a few times, I said, no, this is not for me. And so I couldn't even train my kids. I couldn't play with my kids, and that wasn't enjoyable. Of course, I switched them over to basketball. On the other hand, that didn't work either. But what I did was I realized that without that muscle memory, right, I couldn't do anything. So that has to develop very early.
Right.
Right? Good. Now we know about muscle memory, but we don't know about the rest of the brain. You don't realize that when you are planning your movements in any sport, your cerebellum, the place in your brain where you're doing this muscle coordination, is also coordinating your thought processes. So the flexibility of thought, the cognitive processes, all the planning that goes in, that is also being developed along with the muscle memory. And that's what parents are not aware of. Right? So you have the communication, you got the socialization, you got the self-confidence, you have the muscle memory, you have the coordination and synchronization of your muscles. And you now have flexibility of thought processes.
It's a 720. It's a 720 swivel. It's not just 360. It's a 720.
Exactly.
No, because and I guess that is a fact, right? We do as parents. They really don't understand that all of these things are derived from sports, not just football, but from a lot of the sports. You know what I mean?
Yes.
When you get your kid in there, they learn to think for themselves. Instead of video games and stuff like that, you have as you said, the cognitive aspect where you're learning to create an avenue to beat this one or to pass this one, or you know what I mean? It's a decisive thing that goes on, and that chemical in your brain just keeps going on, and that helps your body to react in the way it's supposed to react. Like one of my things I had a problem with my kids as well is that when you look at some kids playing football, John, you're a coach as well. When you have a kid here and you say pass the ball, he might not know how hard to pass the ball. He might kick it too hard, and you can't control the ball because it's too hard, or he kicks it too soft. And being able to rationalize mentally, listen, I need to have that muscle memory and have my mind transfer the message to my muscle. I need to kick it this amount of force or that amount of force, to get this. So it's really important. And parents, you should understand that there's so much that your kids could gather from being in a sport and a part of a team.
And you brought up an interesting point. Strategy. You learn how to be strategic about your thinking. I have to plan how I'm going to get around this guy. I have to plan how I'm going to try to score, or how my team, how I have to pass the ball to my teammate to score. So that strategizing goes into every aspect of your life. Planning ahead, thinking ahead, right? So again, it's just, we can talk all day about the advantages, both physically and mentally and psychologically. Oh, we forgot one of the most important things: mental health.
Very important.
Mental health. So a lot of kids suffer from depression. A lot of kids get left out or get teased in school, or their parents don't pay enough attention to them. But when they get out on the pitch, when they get out on the basketball court, what do? They get some confidence, they get some success, and that builds their self-esteem. That builds their self-esteem. Plus, the movement stimulates hormones.
Wow.
You heard of endorphins?
Yes.
Endorphins is our body's opiates. Our body makes its own opiates. Our body makes its own marijuana too. Did you realize that?
No.
Yeah, it does. We have an opiate system and we have a marijuana system. It's called the endocannabinoid system for the marijuana, and it's called the endorphin system. It's our body's morphine. And both of these help raise our mood and raise our pain threshold,
Okay.
right? Protects us against depression. And there's another hormone, growth hormone. And there's a growth hormone for the brain that gets stimulated by exercise. It's called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And that gets stimulated mostly from movement and exercise, especially aerobic exercise when the kids are moving around and running around. And so what is that doing? That's stimulating neurons in the brain, making new nerve cells in the brain so they can make more connections.
So let me ask you a question real quick, Doc. Like, what should parents focus on when planning meals for an active child?
Okay, well, this feeds right into it.
Yes.
Right? Number one, get rid of the sugar. Sugar is toxic. Yeah. Not all sugar is toxic.
Right.
So we have to realize what sugar is toxic. Right? You heard of high fructose corn syrup?
Yep.
Yes.
You heard of cane sugar?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I know that the cane sugar industry, you know, in the Caribbean islands,
Right.
helped build the Caribbean islands. Of course, it also created slavery, unfortunately. And it also created, you know, the great UK and American powers, right? This cane sugar industry.
Yeah.
The cane sugar is toxic.
Oh.
Why? Half of it is glucose. Glucose is what all of our cells of our body need, especially our brain. But half of it is fructose. Now, fructose cannot be used by any cell of the body except one, the liver. And when the liver sees fructose, you know what it does? It makes fat. And you get this fatty liver. Now, this is over long periods of time. But what I'm saying is that when you make these fats for your blood, these fats build up, especially one that's called triglycerides. You heard of triglycerides?
Heard of that.
Yeah.
So the liver makes triglycerides in response to fructose from that sugar. And what happens is those fats build up in the circulation in the blood. And you know what they stop? They stop insulin from working. And now we have an epidemic of type 2 diabetes in children.
Yeah.
We never had it
Yeah,
before.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's, we think, from the high fructose corn syrup. And so cane sugar, all these sweets, all the stuff that you buy in the store that is sweet that say sugar on it. In the ingredients label, it'll just say sugar, right? That's all sucrose, which is glucose and fructose, which tastes very sweet, it's very satisfying, but it's toxic. So what kind of sugars should the kids be eating? Well, when they come home from school, you don't give them anything that has added sugar to it.
Added sugar.
Right.
If you see it on the ingredients label, added sugar, no. What you do is you give them fruits,
Fruits.
vegetables.
Yes.
Fruits and vegetables have a little bit of fructose, but mostly glucose.
Well,
See?
Doc, let me tell you something. This has been such an eye-opening and enlightening discussion. There's so much that we need to know more of. Definitely. And our viewers definitely need to know about it. And I think we should have Doc come on another time, most definitely.
Yes.
Because
Really?
because there's so much that you need
How
to
much do you
put out
pay?
there. Don't worry, we're gonna get that
Speak
space
that
sent
on
for you.
off, yeah.
But you know what I mean. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our ninth episode. So until next episode, GN Sport.
We sing for you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. May your dreams come true. Together as one, through thick and thin. With love in our hearts, the season begins. The spirit of Christmas, the joy we share. On and off the field, you're always there. So here's a promise as the new year starts. We'll keep playing strong with all our hearts. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to our family and friends. The season's joy that never